open educational resources. Talking about the types of OER that you can find on the web, a brief history, a look at the Creative Commons licenses that many of the OER on the web are made available through, and just some quick tips about copyright and fair use. So what is OER? The William and Flora Hewlett Foundation defined open educational resources as teaching, learning, and research resources that reside in the public domain or have been released under specific intellectual property licenses, like the Creative Commons licenses, that permits their free use and repurposing by others. OER are really about removing barriers, sharing knowledge, and equalizing access to information. So let's take a look at the types of content you can find available licensed through OER. You can find full courses, like this example from the Open Course Library from Washington State Board of Community College and Technical Colleges. This particular site has over 80 introductory courses in a variety of disciplines. Most of the courses on this site feature complete syllabi, assignments, lecture notes, and exams. You can also find handouts as OER. This example is coming to us from Open Michigan, from the University of Michigan, and this site provides access to course materials like handouts, lectures, and assignments in a variety of academic disciplines. You can also find lectures and presentation notes. This one's a fairly popular site, MIT Open Courseware. There's a variety of materials available on this site. You can find complete PowerPoint lectures with accompanying lecture notes in PDF format. It's important to note that the extent of content varies greatly from course to course. On MIT Open Courseware site, I would strongly suggest, exploring it further, but you're not always going to find a lot of information for every single course on the site itself. You can also find OER as modules or units, like this example from Carnegie Mellon's Open Learning Initiative. They offer about just a dozen or so courses with module content. The nice thing about the module content from the Open Learning Initiative, all the modules have sort of self-check, low-risk assessments built into the lecture content that assess the module learning objectives, something you might want to investigate further to incorporate into your own courses. You can also find complete e-textbooks available as OER. This is the Open Textbook Library from the University of Minnesota. And they have a number of e-textbooks in PDF format for a variety of different disciplines. You can also find video OER content. This is a fun site called Smart History. It offers lecture videos covering major topics from prehistory to modern art history, as well as some text content in addition to video and interactive content. It's associated now with the Khan Academy, which is another OER resource on the web that offers video content as well. Another type of OER you might come across are podcasts, like this example from the University of Oxford. They have a number of lectures that they've been put into podcast format and made available on the website. It's important to note in terms of accessibility and ADA compliance that a number of these podcasts do not provide text alternative transcripts. So if that's a concern for you, this may not be the best source to use. Another type of OER that you might come across are exams and quizzes. This example is coming to us from Rice University's Connections site. This is one of the most extensive OER collections on the web. You won't just find exams and quizzes, but you could find entire courses, lectures, assignments, They have over 20,000 learning objects in this repository, so I strongly suggest going and checking connections out. Another type of OER that you might come across are illustrations. This example is from the Johns Hopkins Open Courseware project. This content primarily focuses on public health, but great illustrations on a number of different topics in the public health field. Another type of OER, obviously, are images. Flickr and Flickr Commons are great resources to find openly licensed image content. Specifically, Flickr Commons provides digital access to public photography collections from libraries, museums, and archives from all over the world. And on the Flickr.com primary site, you can limit your search to only search for openly licensed images. Simulations are another type of OER that you can find on the web. This is the University of Colorado's Physics Education Technology Interactive Simulation site that cover chemistry, biology, earth science, and math, where there's sort of illustrated concepts that you can take, download, or embed into your online courses directly. And finally, another type of OER are simply assignments or assignment ideas. This example is from Stanford's Engineering Everywhere site that provides course materials on computer programming and engineering topics with the complete assignment instructions as well as solutions for those assignments. So those are the primary types of OER. Basically, every type of content that you would need to put together an online course or even incorporate in your face-to-face teaching. The OER movement originated from development in the free open source software movement and in the wider context of open knowledge, open source, free sharing, and peer collaboration, which emerged in the late 1990s. MIT and their OpenCourseware project that we just saw is credited for having sparked a global open educational resources movement after announcing that they were going to put their entire course catalog online. The project was officially launched in 2002. Over 250 universities and colleges worldwide are now participating at an institutional level, with thousands of individual educators adopting, adapting, and sharing their versions of openly licensed content. Another topic that you should be aware of that's somewhat related to OER is the open access movement, which has emerged out of the larger open source movement, providing unrestricted online access to peer-reviewed scholarly articles, theses, monographs, and books with full reuse rights. The primary motivation for open access is for authors to make their articles openly accessible to maximize their research impact. And this growing practice has encouraged more faculty to self-archive their published articles in institutional digital repositories associated with their respective academic libraries. Creative Commons is a very important organization in terms of open content and the open educational resources movement. At the same time, MIT was announcing their OpenCourseware project, Creative Commons was established in 2002. Creative Commons provides copyright licenses that encourage sharing, adaptation, and reuse of creative works. The original licenses were inspired by the Free Software Foundation General Public License. The Creative Commons licenses attempt to forge a balance between openness and the traditional all rights reserved setting that traditional copyright law creates. Creative Commons licenses ensure that the retention of copyright is still credited to the actual creator while allowing others to copy, distribute, and make some use of the work according to the specific license type. So depending on the license type, You may be able to revise, adapt, and improve the resource so it better meets your specific needs. It may allow you to remix, combine, or mash up a resource with another one to produce a brand new piece of content. Some of the licenses allow you to reuse the original or new version of your piece of content in a wide range of contexts. And the licenses also allow you to redistribute, actually copy work and share it, as long as you're accrediting the original creator in the new piece. So let's take a look at the license types a little closer. And bear with me because some explanation might get a little confusing, but I've made an attempt to explain it after I introduce the license types. So let's jump in here. So the first most open license type is attribution. You will see it signified on a piece of web content with the logo you see on the screen or with the word CC BY. So when you see a piece of content that's licensed in this way, you're free to distribute it, remix it, tweak it, and build upon it, even commercially, as long as you credit the original creator. So you might find a lecture that you'd like to incorporate into your own online course. You can literally copy that content and paste it into your course, change it in any way, as long as you are crediting the original creator of that work. The second license type is Attribution-NoDerivatives, or CC BY ND. You'll see this logo on the screen associated with it when you're looking at online repositories of OER. Content licensed in this way allows you to distribute it commercially and non-commercially, as long as the work is passed along unchanged and in whole with credit to the original creator. So with this license type, you would not be able to copy it and tweak it and change it to better fit your needs. You would have to copy it verbatim and put it into your course, as long as you're giving credit to the original creator. The next license type is Attribution-NonCommercial-ShareAlike, or CC BY NCSA. Content licensed in this manner allows you to remix, tweak, and build upon a work non-commercially, as long as you credit the original creator and license the new creations under identical terms. So typically, work, any content that you're using for nonprofit educational use in your online courses or your face-to-face courses qualifies as non-commercial. But if, say, you were taking an icon that you found on Flickr and you wanted to put it on a website for your own personal business, that would not be deemed non-commercial. The ShareAlike element of this license type means that you would have to republish the work. Whatever tweaks or remix that you've made, you'd have to push it back out to the commons on the web with the same license type. So it encourages people to keep sharing content instead of just taking. You're sort of giving back to the community at the same time. The next license type is Attribution-ShareAlike, or CC BY SA. Content under this license type, you may remix, tweak, and build upon the work for commercial purposes, as long as you credit the original creator and license the new creations under identical terms. So again, content with this license type, if you are taking it, changing it, improving it in some way, you'll have to give it back to the commons and keep the sharing happening, so to speak. The next license type is Attribution-NonCommercial, or CC by NC. Content under this license type allows you to remix, tweak, build upon the work non-commercially, giving credit to the original creator. And finally, the last license type, Attribution-NonCommercial-NoDerivatives, is the most restrictive of all the licenses. It allows non-commercial use and distribution of the work unchanged and in whole as long as the original creator is credited. So if you found a piece of content with this license type, you could not use it commercially and you couldn't change it in any way. You basically just have to take it and put it into a nonprofit use environment without adding or taking away any element of it. So let's try to explain some of the complexities of these licenses. You may only remix works released under different CC licenses if the terms of the licenses involved permit such work. The no derivatives licenses do not permit remixing at all, meaning that they have to be whatever content is licensed with no derivatives has to be passed along without any changes to it. All the other CC licenses allow remixes that may impose conditions on how the remix may be used. If you create a remix with a work license under a ShareAlike license, you need to make sure that the remix is licensed under the same license conditions. Likewise, if you want to use the remix work for non-commercial purposes, you cannot incorporate a work released under one of the non-commercial licenses. So this chart sort of visually explains the status of the original work. Say you find something and you want to use it in a certain way. This chart shows you what license types would apply to whatever derivative work or non-derivative work that results from that original work. A note about non-commercial. Creative Commons non-commercial licenses prohibit uses that are primarily intended for or directed towards commercial advantage or private monetary compensation. Whether a use is commercial will depend on the specifics of the situation and the intentions of the user. Use by nonprofit educational institutions are assumed to be a non-commercial use. However, this does not exclude the use from being challenged or challenged of violating the license. If you're unsure of your use, if it qualifies as non-commercial, you can always contact the rights owner for clarification or search for work that is simply not restricted to non-commercial use. If you want to read more about the slippery slope of non-commercial and how it's defined, I would recommend taking a look at this study that Creative Commons completed in 2009. The poll conducted in this study found population generally considered uses that earn users money or involve online advertising to always be commercial, while uses by organizations or individuals or for charitable purposes were less commercial but not decidedly non-commercial. So there's not always a black and white here. There's always a bit of gray area. So let's take a look at how you would attribute a piece of content that's licensed under Creative Commons. Creative Commons has provided some guidelines to use when attributing a source. This typically includes credit to the original creator, the title of the work, the URL where the work was hosted, an indication of the license type, and a link to the license type available through Creative Commons. I have an example here. So this image, you'd have the title, you'd have the original creator, the license type that it's under, Creative Commons Attribution License 2.0, and the URL where the image was originally found. Here's another example of an attribution for derivative work. So you have the translation, the title, the original owner under the copyright license, and an explanation of that license type linking to the Creative Commons website. And again, because this original work was licensed under Attribution-ShareAlike, the derivative work thus also has to be distributed with the same license type, Attribution-ShareAlike. So, in addition to some of the sites that we already looked at when we were looking at the types of OER available, I'm going to review some of my favorite sites that I use when searching for content for coursework. OER Commons is a library of shared teaching and learning materials made freely available online. The content here spans K through higher ed, and it's a very easy to use interface. You can do quick keyword search and then limit it by sort of the level in terms of education. You can also limit the search by the type of license and subject. It's a great site to check out. The Open Courseware Consortium is a collection of complete online classes submitted by hundreds of higher ed consortium members. So this is all college level classes that you can search with a keyword or by subject matter. Again, license types will vary here, but they're all under Creative Commons in some way or another. The Saylor Foundation is another great resource for online classes. They have a collection of over 280, 300 or so classes. Again, it spans K through higher ed. These are complete classes that faculty have built using OER from around the web, spanning a number of different disciplines. I definitely recommend checking this one out. OpenStax is another Rice University project offering free online textbooks. It's interesting to note that some of these OER providers are now making derivative editions of some of the work that they're offering under open license types for a cost with like extra content. You can see that you can get this physics textbook completely free as a PDF, or you can opt to buy an e-book with interactive content for $4.99. MERLOT is a peer-reviewed site that has tens of thousands of pieces of content spanning from modules to lecture content to assignments or assessments or simulations across multiple disciplines. It's a great site for higher ed OER content. It can be a bit difficult to search. I think it's usually easier to browse collections by subject than trying to narrow something down by keyword search. You can also search the entire web by going to search.creativecommons.org, and you can search basically different license types. So if you're looking for something that you can use commercially, you can elect that filter, or something that you can modify and adapt. And that will search, you know, the entirety of Google Images results from the entire web, or a variety of other media resources. Wikimedia Commons is another repository of openly licensed multimedia or works in the public domain. And it provides options for downloading the file or embedding the file directly into other online content, and provide good records in terms of attribution. So a quick note, since we're talking about intellectual property rights, copyright compliance can be complicated, and understanding and adhering to all the requirements of the Technology, Education, and Copyright Harmonization, or TEACH Act, can be difficult. While the Act was created in 2002 to better accommodate users of digital content and distance learners, copyright laws still impose a number of restrictions on the use of content for educational purposes. Educators also have fair use guidelines to use when adopting copyrighted content, but there's really no simple rule to cite when determining fair use. It's important to understand that copyright is automatic upon the creation of a work in a fixed and tangible medium. So even if you find a great web page or a document online that doesn't feature a copyright statement, that doesn't mean that the content is excluded from intellectual property laws. The content author is not required to register the copyright or feature a notice of copyright on the work in order for the piece of content to be covered by law. Another common misconception that I've found working with faculty is that not all content published through an academic institution is not copyrighted. You can't just take it because another educational institution has produced it. While limiting your content search, like doing a Google search, you can limit the sites that you search by only looking at .edu sites. It's a great strategy to find reputable academic content, but because it's published on a .edu site does not mean it's openly licensed. While TEACH Act and fair use provide limited use of copyrighted content in an online format, you might consider starting your search for content when you're building a course or looking to incorporate different content in your face-to-face course. Look for content that's been explicitly licensed to share and redistribute, available under Creative Commons through the number of open educational resource sites that we have discussed today. So that's really all I had. I ran through that pretty fast. Questions?
And so if you have questions, again, just a reminder, you can put those in the Q&A panel. So if you don't happen to see that Q&A panel right now, just move your mouse to the top of your screen, and the little WebEx menu will pop down, and you can click on Q&A from that options drop-down menu there. So it looks like we have a question here from Lacey. She's asking, what about sources for vocational material like trucking?
That's an excellent question. Off the top of my head, I don't know of any. I would go to the OER Commons site. I've seen some content like for welding on there, which is technically a vocational program. So they might have content there. But yeah, I would start there. And on the OER Commons website, and go from there. Pam asked, is CCCS a member of MERLOT? I thought membership was required. So I believe you have to be a member if you want to publish content to the site, but not if you want to search and sort of harvest content from the site. If you go on to MERLOT, the site itself, you are free to search the entire database of learning objects. If you were looking to publish content back into the Commons through MERLOT, I believe that's when you would need a membership, but I'm not sure who I would even ask to see if CCCS is a member of ILO, but I will investigate.
We could check with Mary Cash, who is our librarian. She kind of keeps track of the resources and databases that we're a part of, so I think she might know.
Okay.
Thanks for that, Pam. Any other questions? You can also raise your hand if you have a question that is long that you don't want to type in. You can click that hand raise button and we can pass you the microphone as well.
Kristen asks if you're allowed to integrate a module into an existing course that has the appropriate attribution symbols. So yes, that's great. If you find something that is licensed under Creative Commons, really anything, as long as you're not changing it, right? If you're not planning to make any changes, if you want to create, take an entire module, say a psychology module from the Carnegie Mellon site I'm thinking of, and you wanted to put that into one of your psychology classes, you could just take that entire content and put it into your course in D2L, as long as you're attributing it properly.
And Pam just also commented that MERLOT has a really good webinar that teaches you how to navigate their site, so if anybody's interested in that. Thanks for that, Pam.
Oh, and it looks like Pam was one of the content authors on the Great Carnegie Mellon Psych course.
Oh,
That's
cool.
Great. If anyone has any questions they want to ask me individually, or they want to talk about some of the license types in more specific context, you know, always email me. I'm also happy to share this presentation. It has all the hyperlinks out to all the sites we looked at too. Just email me at the address on the screen and I can send you a copy of the PowerPoint presentation.
Cool. Thanks for that, Amanda. We had a question from Linda here too. She says, if I found a whole module of instruction that I wanted to use, how would I just copy and paste that into D2L?
So it depends. Some of the sites allow you to download the content in specific ways, like sometimes it's in a PDF format. Otherwise, you could simply copy and paste it into a D2L HTML page. I would suggest reaching out to an instructional designer that knows more about that and can assist you with that. But usually, when you're looking at OER, you'll get an option to download with a variety of file formats that you can integrate into your course, either as like an HTML page. If it's a discussion question, obviously you put that in the discussion tool in D2L. But it's definitely something that an instructional designer at your institution can help you out with.
And two, if you're teaching at CCC Online, we always ask that you check with your chair before you make any changes like that to your course once you receive it, just to make sure that they're okay with that, because they work closely with our instructional design team that Amanda's a part of to put those classes together for you. So please do check with your chair about that stuff, and sometimes they'll be happy to work with you, or they may even take your suggestion to the next time that they redevelop that course.
That's an excellent point, Sean. Thank you for that.
Any other questions from anybody? And like I said too, I will put this up on the webinar archive. It should be there probably by mid to late next week at the latest. So if you want to review anything, you can do that. And Amanda, if you want to send me your PowerPoint, I can also put that up on the archive with the video recording.
Cool. I'll do that.
So that you all can download that from there.
Excellent.
Well, if there aren't any other questions, you all can feel free to take off. We really appreciate you joining us today, and thank you so much to Amanda for doing this great presentation again. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
People are out.
Quick.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Plenty of time before your meeting.
Yay. Shift gears now. Okay, cool. Thanks for that.
Yes.